There comes a moment in your life when you realize that not everyone around you is meant to stay. Not everyone who claps for you wants to see you win. And not everyone you give your time, love, and energy to knows how to honor it. Walking away is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's self-respect. It's a deep understanding that your presence is a blessing. And anybody who fails to see that doesn't deserve access to you. Today, I want to talk about how to walk away from people who don't value you, and not just walk away, but walk away with dignity, with clarity, and with the kind of power that transforms your life. There's a certain kind of peace that comes into your life the day you stop believing what people say and start paying attention to what they do. And that peace doesn't arrive easy. It comes through experience, through disappointment, through the moments you kept showing up for people who couldn't even show up for you. It comes from the nights you stayed awake, replaying conversations in your head, wondering where you went wrong, wondering why your loyalty never seems to be returned with the same intensity. But the truth is, the first step to walking away from people who don't value you is honesty. Honesty with yourself. People can say anything. They can say, I care about you, and never act like it. They can say, I'll be there, and disappear the moment you need them most. They can say, I appreciate you, but treat you like you're replaceable. Words are cheap. Words don't cost anything. But actions are the real currency. They expose character. They show intention. They reveal whether a person's presence in your life is genuine or just convenient. Think about the friend who always promised to support your dreams. They told you they believed in you. They told you they show up to your events, your launches, your milestones. But every time you needed them, something came up. They were too busy, too tired, too distracted. Yet the moment they needed you, you moved your world around to make space. You answered their calls. You stayed up with them through their heartbreaks. You poured into them when you were running empty yourself. And deep down, you knew the scale was uneven, but you kept giving because you hoped they'd eventually see your worth. That imbalance, that's not love, that's not loyalty, that's convenience. There comes a moment when you have to face the truth that some people don't value you, not because you're not valuable, but because they don't have the capacity, the maturity, or the character to value anyone. They take without replenishing. They expect without reciprocating. They demand without appreciating. And if you let them, they will drain you until you have nothing left to give. But your time, your energy, your heart, these are gifts, and not everyone deserves access to them. It hurts to admit when someone sees you as an option while you made them a priority. It hurts to recognize that someone you care deeply for never saw you with the same depth. But ignoring that truth doesn't protect you. It only prolongs your pain. The more you hold on to someone's potential, the more you excuse their behavior, the more you try to convince yourself that maybe tomorrow they'll show up different, the more you betray yourself. And self-betrayal is the deepest kind of wound. People reveal how they value you through their effort, not their excuses, not their promises, not their apologies, through effort, through consistency, through showing up, even when it's inconvenient, through making you feel seen, not sidelined. And if someone's effort fades, your presence should fade with it. If their consistency drops, your expectations should drop too. If they stop choosing you, stop choosing them. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about ego. This is about alignment. You cannot build a solid life around people who are inconsistent with you. You can't expect peace from those who bring chaos into your life. You can't expect loyalty from people who don't even know how to be honest with themselves. A lot of people stay in these imbalanced connections because they fear being alone. But being alone is nothing compared to being surrounded by people who make you feel lonely. Being alone gives you space to breathe, to rebuild, to reflect. Being undervalued slowly breaks you down from the inside out. Sometimes you need to take a step back and ask yourself, if I stop reaching out, would this relationship still exist? And if the answer is no, you already know what you need to do. Walking away doesn't start with your feet. It starts with your awareness. It starts the moment you stop romanticizing a person's potential and start acknowledging their patterns. Patterns don't lie. Patterns don't hide. Patterns don't change unless the person chooses to change them. And you can love someone deeply and still accept that they aren't good for your growth. There's a freedom that comes when you finally understand this, when you stop begging for effort, when you stop waiting for people to treat you right, when you stop proving your worth to people who benefit from doubting it, when you stop shrinking yourself to fit into their comfort zone, when you stop giving second chances to people who didn't appreciate the first one. You deserve to be around people who match your energy, people who remember the small things, people who show up without being asked, people who value your presence, not just your benefits, people who speak highly of you behind your back, people whose actions speak louder than their excuses, people who see you, not just need you. And sometimes the hardest part is realizing that the person you needed to walk away from wasn't always some enemy or some negative person. Sometimes it's someone you love deeply, someone you trusted, someone you hoped would grow with you. But growth is optional. Respect is optional. Loyalty is optional. You can't force someone to value what they were never taught to appreciate. You can't teach someone how to love you when they don't even love themselves. Their lack of value toward you is not a reflection of your worth, it's a reflection of their limits. You are allowed to outgrow people. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to walk away from anything that makes you question your own value. And yes, it might hurt at first. Yes, you might feel empty for a while. Yes, you might miss the memories, the laughs, the history, but you won't miss the pain. You won't miss the confusion. You won't miss the feeling of being taken for granted. You won't miss the disappointment of expecting effort that never comes. The truth is, every time you let go of someone who doesn't value you, you make space for someone who will. You create room for better connections, better conversations, better energy, better love. You reclaim parts of yourself you forgot about. You rediscover your power. You learn to walk away, not out of anger, but out of clarity. And once you learn that lesson, once you see the difference between words and actions, you never let anyone play with your worth again. There comes a point in life when you have to step back and ask yourself a real question. Why am I letting someone else's inability to value me determine how I value myself? Too many people stay in relationships, friendships, and connections that drain them simply because they think the way someone treats them is a reflection of who they are. But the truth is, someone else's blindness has nothing to do with your brilliance. Someone else's lack of appreciation does not decrease your worth. Not today, not ever. One of the biggest reasons people stay in undervalued relationships is because they've been conditioned to believe that love, validation, and acceptance must be earned. They think if they just give more, love harder, shrink smaller, stay quiet, try again, forgive again, tolerate more, sacrifice more, then maybe the other person will finally wake up and see their value. But that's a trap. A painful one, because no amount of giving can make someone develop the emotional maturity they don't have. No amount of loyalty can make someone see your worth if they're committed to taking you for granted. Your value does not rise or fall based on who chooses to recognize it. It's not negotiable. It's not up for debate. It's not dependent on someone's mood, someone's convenience, or someone's level of self-awareness. You don't become less valuable because someone handled you carelessly. You don't become less rare because someone lacked the vision to see your rarity. And you definitely don't become less deserving just because someone couldn't show up for you. Think about diamonds. A diamond sitting in the dirt is still a diamond. It still holds the same value, the same potential, the same brilliance, even if the wrong person walks right past it without paying attention. The only difference between a diamond recognized and a diamond overlooked is the eye that's looking at it. Only someone with the right awareness, the right knowledge, the right sense of value can understand what's in front of them. And the same applies to you. Your worth doesn't come from the people who recognize it. It comes from the truth of who you are. Sometimes you're dealing with people who simply aren't qualified to recognize your greatness, not because you're too much, but because they're too limited. They don't have the emotional bandwidth. They've never experienced real loyalty. They don't understand genuine love. They've never been exposed to someone who moves with integrity, compassion, consistency, and heart. So when they encounter you, someone who shows up, someone who cares deeply, someone who gives authentically, they don't know how to handle it. They take advantage. They underestimate. They misuse. They mistake your kindness for naivety and your patience for weakness. But their inability is not your identity. You can't let someone's limited perception make you question your own reflection. You can't let their behaviors convince you that you're not enough. You can't let their half love make you doubt your whole existence. You have to separate their treatment of you from your sense of self-worth. The two are not connected unless you allow them to be. Your worth is rooted in things that no one can take away. Your integrity, your character, your heart, your effort, your intentions, your growth, your resilience. Those qualities hold value even when someone fails to appreciate them. Those qualities are what make you rare even when someone overlooks you. And if you're not careful, you'll internalize the wrong person's opinion and build your identity around their limitations. How many times have you felt like you had to prove yourself to someone who barely brought anything to the table? How many nights have you questioned your importance because someone treated you like an option? How many times have you replayed conversations in your head, wondering what you could have said or done differently to make someone value you? But that's the thing. You can't force someone to see what they aren't ready or willing to see, and trying to convince someone to appreciate you only leads you further away from yourself. You ever notice how some of the most amazing people doubt themselves the most? The ones who give the most love are the ones who question whether they deserve it. The ones who show up for everyone else are the ones wondering if anyone would show up for them. The ones who try the hardest are the ones who get taken for granted the quickest. And it's not because they're unworthy, it's because they gave their heart to the wrong evaluator. When you hand your sense of self-worth to someone who doesn't even know their own value, you're setting yourself up to be undervalued. When you let someone else's inconsistent behavior define how you feel about yourself, you end up believing lies about your own identity. And that's why understanding your worth independent of anyone's approval is powerful. It's the first step in breaking the cycle of seeking validation from places that were never capable of giving it. Your worth must come from within, from your own understanding of who you are and what you bring to the world, from knowing the love you give is real, even if someone mishandles it, from knowing your intentions are pure, even if someone doubts them, from knowing your presence is a blessing, even if someone fails to treat it like one. People can only meet you at the level of their capacity, not the level of your value. Someone who has never experienced healthy love will not understand how to return yours. Someone who hasn't healed will not know how to hold what's whole. Someone who fears vulnerability will not appreciate someone who loves deeply. Their behavior towards you says everything about them and nothing about you. You must carry yourself with the kind of confidence that doesn't crumble when someone withdraws their attention. You must walk with the kind of self-respect that doesn't shrink when someone fails to choose you. You must love yourself with the kind of strength that doesn't fade when someone mishandles your heart. Because the truth is, the right people will recognize you instantly. They won't need convincing. They won't need explanations. They won't need reminders. Understanding your worth, independent of anyone's approval, gives you freedom. Freedom from chasing, from proving, from begging, from breaking yourself into pieces trying to fit someone else's vision. It allows you to stand tall in who you are, even if someone else can't see it. And once you truly understand that, you'll stop settling for anyone who treats you like you're ordinary when you were never meant to be anything less than extraordinary. There's a moment in life when you look around at everything you've tolerated, everything you've carried, everything you've allowed to slide just to keep the peace. And you finally realize that the peace you thought you were protecting wasn't peace at all. It was avoidance. It was fear. It was the habit of putting yourself last so nobody else got uncomfortable. And that's the moment you start learning what boundaries really are. Because walking away from people who don't value you doesn't start with your feet. It starts with your decision. The quiet decision inside your spirit that says, I will no longer negotiate my value. People think boundaries are about building walls, but they're not. Boundaries simply define where you end and where someone else begins. They are the line that protects your energy, your time, your heart, and your sanity. And yet so many people feel guilty for setting them. They feel selfish for protecting themselves, as if self-respect is a crime. As if honoring your limits somehow makes you a bad person. But boundaries don't make you rude, they make you respect. Boundaries don't push people away, they filter out the wrong ones. There was a woman who once told me she felt torn every time her family asked her for money. She wasn't wealthy, she was trying to build her own stability. But every time she got a little ahead, here came someone with an emergency she didn't create. And every time she hesitated to help, she felt guilty, afraid they'd think she didn't care, afraid they'd call her selfish. But eventually she reached a point of exhaustion, emotionally drained, financially stretched, mentally overwhelmed. So she did something she'd never done before. She said no. Calm, firm, respectful, no excuses, no long explanation, just a boundary. And what happened next taught her everything she needed to know. The ones who truly loved her said, we understand. Take care of yourself first. They respected her limit because they respected her. But the ones who were using her, the ones who only saw her as a source of convenience, they got angry. They tried to guilt trip her. They tried to shame her. They accused her of changing, but she hadn't changed. They had just lost access to the version of her they could take advantage of. That's the thing about boundaries. They don't just protect you, they reveal people's motives. If someone benefits from your lack of boundaries, they will always be offended when you finally set them. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because they can no longer manipulate, drain, or control you. And that realization is painful, but it's necessary, because you're not walking away from people. You're walking toward peace, toward clarity, toward self-respect. Setting boundaries is not about being cold, it's about being clear. And clarity is kindness, both to yourself and to the people who deserve to be in your life. When you don't communicate your limits, you create confusion, resentment, and cycles of self-sacrifice. You start believing the lie that being needed is the same as being valued. You start confusing constant giving with connection. But constantly giving is not love if the cost is losing yourself. Most people never learn how to honor their own limits. They were taught to be nice, to be agreeable, to keep quiet, to avoid confrontation. They were praised for selflessness, even when that selflessness was destroying them. And then one day, they wake up exhausted, drained, and wondering why nobody seems to give back what they give. But the truth is, you train people how to treat you. If you show people you're always available, they'll never consider your schedule. If you show people you'll always say yes, they'll stop asking and start expecting. If you show people you don't mind being overlooked, they'll continue to overlook you. Boundaries teach people what you allow, what you don't allow, what you tolerate, and what you refuse to accept. They are not restrictions, they are instructions. They tell the world, this is how I want to be treated. And the people who respect you will honor that. The people who only want to use you will argue with it. That's how easy it is to see who is for you and who is around you for what you can do for them. You have to understand something. Protecting your energy is not selfish. Protecting your peace is not selfish. Protecting your dreams, your time, your mental health, none of that is selfish. What's selfish is the person who expects unlimited access to you while offering nothing in return. What's selfish is the person who gets angry when you say no because they expected you to carry their weight forever. What's selfish is someone demanding what they never earned. You don't owe anyone unlimited versions of you. You don't owe anyone access that drains you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your life from chaos. Stop apologizing for having standards. Stop apologizing for saying, I can't do that anymore. Stop apologizing for needing space. Stop apologizing for choosing yourself. When someone gets offended by your boundaries, it's because your growth exposes their entitlement. They didn't want a relationship, they wanted control. They didn't want partnership, they wanted compliance. And the moment you remove the ability for them to take advantage of you, the truth about the relationship becomes clear. But here's the beautiful part. Once you start setting boundaries, you start attracting people who respect them. When you stop letting people treat you casually, you attract people who treat you consciously. When you stop tolerating disrespect, you attract people who communicate with honesty. When you stop giving to those who drain you, you make room for those who pour into you. Boundaries are how you teach the world that you know your worth. They're how you signal to the universe that you're ready for relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, not one-sided sacrifice. And the more you honor your boundaries, the more you grow into the version of yourself who doesn't just walk away when she's undervalued. She walks confidently toward everything she deserves. You deserve to be respected without begging for it. You deserve to be valued without having to fight for it. You deserve to be loved without having to exhaust yourself trying to earn it. So make the decision, set the limits, protect your peace, and never apologize for it. There's a certain point on your journey where you realize that walking away isn't just about distance. It's about discipline. It's about choosing your future over your feelings, your peace over your patterns, and your growth over your history. But let's be real. Walking away is hardest when you try to do it emotionally. Emotions aren't built for logic. They're built for comfort. They want what feels familiar, even if that familiarity is killing you slowly. They cling to memories, stories, promises that were never kept. They replay the good moments and silence the bad ones. They make you think that going back is easier than moving forward. But the path your future requires is different. Your future doesn't care about comfort, it demands clarity. Your future doesn't care about who you used to be, it cares about who you're becoming. And that version of you cannot grow in the same environment that kept you small. Your next chapter requires you to do something your emotions will fight you on. Take action. Behavioral psychology talks about something powerful. Studies show that the human brain becomes attached to routines, even the unhealthy ones. That's why you can stay in a toxic relationship far longer than you should. That's why walking away feels like withdrawal. Your brain isn't just letting go of a person, it's letting go of a pattern, a rhythm, a reward cycle, something it learned to depend on, even if it was hurting you. So if it feels painful, confusing, overwhelming, you're not crazy, you're human. This is why you can't walk away with emotion alone. Emotion will tell you to give it one more chance. Emotion will whisper, maybe they'll change. Emotion will convince you to reread old messages, stalk social media, rehearse closure speeches that will never land the way you imagine. Emotion keeps you in loops. Walking away becomes possible when you stop letting your feelings dictate your decisions. You need strategy, you need structure, you need a plan that isn't built around the moment you're in, but the life you're trying to reach. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to disconnect from the person who consistently hurts you. Not because you hate them, but because you finally learned how to love yourself. That means stop responding to messages that pull you back into old cycles. You know the type. Messages that sound apologetic but never lead to change. Messages that say, I miss you, but never say, I'll do better. Stop trying to explain your worth. You could write a whole thesis on your loyalty and they still wouldn't understand it because explanation can't reach someone who refuses to recognize what's in front of them. Stop checking in. Stop monitoring them. Stop trying to be the bigger person if being the bigger person is costing you your peace. You need to cut off access slowly or suddenly, whichever protects your spirit better. Some people can detach gradually with distance that grows over time. Others have to disappear immediately, cut the rope all at once, or else they'll talk themselves into staying. There's no right or wrong way. There's only the way that saves you. Walking away is not a momentary decision. It's a commitment, a daily commitment, a choice you make every morning when you wake up and remind yourself why you left. And some days you'll feel strong. Some days you'll feel like you're reclaiming your life. But other days, your emotions will hit you like a wave. You'll feel the urge to go back, to reconnect, to reopen doors you closed for your own good. This is where discipline comes in. This is where your future speaks louder than your pain. Because your feelings want company, but your future wants freedom. Think about how many times you stayed because you felt lonely, not because you felt loved. Think about how many times you accepted less because you feared starting over. Think about how many times you tried to rebuild something that wasn't meant to stand. But every time you choose the past, you delay the life waiting on you. Every time you choose your emotions over your future, you stay stuck in the same cycle you swore you wanted to break. The truth is, healing doesn't come from going back to what broke you. It comes from moving toward what builds you. And sometimes that means closing the chapter without getting the closure you thought you needed. Sometimes that means blocking numbers. Sometimes that means deleting pictures. Sometimes that means crying through the first few nights but still refusing to turn around. Because walking away is not about being heartless. It's about being honest. Honest about what you deserve, about what you've tolerated, about how long you've been trying to breathe in an environment that suffocates you. Your future self is calling you. The version of you who's healed, focused, confident, grounded, she's waiting on the other side of this decision. And she can't meet you if you keep running back to the same people who kept you questioning your worth. Walking away with action means showing the universe you're serious. It means removing yourself from conversations that drain you. It means ending connections that disrespect you. It means stepping into spaces that nourish you instead of break you down. And you don't need anyone's permission to do that. You don't need consensus. You don't need support. This is your life, your peace, your journey. It's okay to grieve what you're letting go of. It's okay to miss the person and still know they weren't good for your growth. It's okay to feel the pull of your emotions and still make the choice that honors your future. You're not weak for struggling. You're strong for trying. You're strong for choosing yourself even when it hurts. You're strong for walking away from instability, confusion, disrespect, and excuses, even when your emotions beg you to stay. Just remember this, leaving doesn't mean you stop caring. Leaving means you stop sacrificing yourself for people who didn't know how to care for you. Leaving means you finally put your peace first. Leaving means you're ready for something real, something steady, something aligned. Your feelings may want company right now, but your future wants freedom. And the moment you choose that freedom with action, not emotion, everything in your life starts to shift. When you finally walk away from someone who never valued you, you're going to feel that space open up inside you like a door swinging wide after years of being stuck. At first, it might feel like loss. It might feel like absence. It might feel like you've taken something away from your life instead of adding to it. But that space isn't there to haunt you. That space is there to rebuild you. It's the clean slate you couldn't create while you were busy giving everything to someone who gave you just enough to keep you close, but never enough to make you feel seen. And this is where the real shift happens, in what you decide to fill that space with. Most people fill it with regret. They replay old conversations in their head, asking themselves what they could have said differently, how they could have loved better, where they might have messed up. They torture themselves with memories and call it loyalty. But that's not growth. That's punishment. And you don't owe yourself punishment. You owe yourself evolution. Think about how many times you poured your energy into someone who treated it like it was nothing. Think about how you rearrange your schedule, your emotions, sometimes even your dreams, just to keep the connection alive. Now imagine what your life turns into when you redirect that same energy back into you. That's the transformation.